Avery, whose show is this? And we're live. Welcome, everybody, here to the Lakers Lounge Podcast. I'm Anthony Irwin, Senior Lakers Insider, as well as lead Lakers content creator for Offside. Joined on this fine Tuesday afternoon, Harrison, I remembered what day of the week it is, by Harrison Fagan of SB Nation. And today on the show, we got some pretty major news drop like minutes before we were going to go live about a pretty major shakeup in the Lakers C-suite as Tim Harris is slated to step aside after this season. Tim Harris is a former boyfriend of Jeannie Buss's. He is the president of business operations with the Lakers. He is one of those names that you constantly hear about as somebody who is in that inner circle with Jeannie Buss and is, his input on even basketball decisions is taken into account. And I think this has a major ripple effect across the entire organization and kind of sort of hints at what we've been hoping to see, which is a pretty big change, like C-course in or correction even in how the Lakers operate. So we're going to talk about that. It was funny also over the weekend because I can always kind of tell. I didn't go to All-Star Weekend. I don't think, Harrison, you did either. And I don't know if you went to any like All-Star Weekend adjacent things, events, parties, or whatever. But I went to
my grandfather-in-law's 90th birthday party. That was the All-Star event of
did New Balance still that one?
The biggest party in LA.
Huh? Was that New Balance or was that Skechers? Like which party was that? Was that not a
I didn't see any other NBA people there, unfortunately.
But it's funny, like I've reached the point in my career where I can kind of tell people are getting together by the kinds of texts that I get. And over the weekend, I was getting a lot of texts that, you could tell stemmed from some conversations that were taking place there and just asking to make sure that they have X or Y detail correct, or, hey, have you been hearing some of this stuff that I just heard at this party or whatever? Parties are also like party seasons are also really funny because people get a little liquored up and the rumors start flying a little bit more. So this weekend was no different. So I wanted to talk, and one of the major topics of that speculation and those rumors and all that stuff was LeBron's future with the Lakers. And so kind of wanted to
weekend tradition, unlike any other, speculating on whether or not LeBron is going to be back with the Lakers.
We've been doing this for 8 years. So we will we'll go ahead and talk about that as well and kind of game that out as well. Speaking of All-Star Weekend, it was a success. I think I'm willing to call it a pretty major success, actually. Even given the earlier start times, even given the Olympic distractions, even given the aspiration shadow over, everything that was going on and the conversations about tanking and everything that's wrong with the NBA.
Cast a shadow? That's an interesting philosophical question.
Can an unplanted tree cast a shadow? So we will talk about All-Star Weekend and I think some of the stuff that we would like to see the Lakers kind of build off, or the league build off of. And then obviously over the course of the show, you guys will have questions. As you guys have noticed, this is not on Twitter any longer. It just kind of works out that StreamYard has been having issues broadcasting stuff to Twitter. And I've been thinking about no longer broadcasting to Twitter anyway. So the only way to watch this show live from now on, and really in general in video form, is going to be on YouTube. So make sure you guys are hitting that subscribe button and turning on your notifications for whenever we go live. So with that, all of that out of the way, Harrison, you ready to talk about the Lakers C-suite?
I guess. I mean, you called this. I don't want to start a semantic quibble like in the first segment, but you called this major news. I don't know that. Like, I mean, I think this is major news in Lakers gossip circles. I think it probably is maybe indicative of larger changes that we will see. But I think, like, as far like brass tacks is that this is not going to be a change the fans are going to see reflected very much, if at all, anytime soon.
To quote the philosopher Darius Soriano, yes and no. I say yes because oftentimes like C-suite stuff isn't the kind of thing that most sports fans really care about, right? And so like your typical Lakers fan isn't going to be like looking for ways that things will change here. As it pertains to like, the team that they actually root for. What I will say though is Tim Harris as president of business operations, a lot of like Lakers media stuff kind of filters through him at times too.
Yeah.
And yeah. And so like, I think this is going to be one aspect of modernization that people might see, that the Lakers, like one thing that the Dodgers, I really enjoy from the Dodgers is their like behind the scenes stuff that their media like teams do. I actually think, just generally speaking, the relationship between the Dodgers and Sportsnet LA is a lot more productive and makes better content than Spectrum Sportsnet. And I think that a lot of that has to do with the fact that like the people that Spectrum works with the Dodgers are like that relationship is more forward thinking than it is with the people that Spectrum has to work with the Lakers. And I think like if we could see, like, I think Backstage Lakers is kind of an interesting thing here, where like Backstage Lakers, the stuff that you see aired from Backstage Lakers is from stuff that happened like a month ago. And I know like there's an editing process and there's there's a lot of work that goes into it. But if you could streamline that to where like, if it was like a week prior, a little closer to what it's like when you watch, is it Hard Knocks on HBO, like the football stuff? That stuff is happening like the week prior, and I think a lot of that has to do with like all of the content that Spectrum has to do, or that it puts out there, goes through Tim Harris and that comb to figure out like what's going on there and what they want to air and how they want it to air and who they want to make look a certain way and stuff like that. Like, streamlining that a little bit is something that I think Lakers fans will feel. But I think more importantly, and this is where I do think Lakers fans will actually feel the difference here, is by getting rid of the Tim Harrises of the world and hopefully eventually the Ramby and so on and so forth, is decision basketball.
Did Tim Harris get the $8 or $24 million bonus? Was his also
8,
tied to?
No.
Like, Tim, we think of you as more of a number 8 Kobe guy. I just feel like those are the highlights I see you putting up in your, like, 20. I don't know, 24. How involved were you with him at that point?
But like actually he might have been 24. I forget. But but like just from like, if I'm a Lakers fan, what this signals to me, and you kind of hinted at it, is the possibility that basketball decisions aren't going to bounce around to the extent that they do before the decision is finally made. And it's so unorganized at times that it's impossible for paralysis by analysis not to take place when if you're going to make a trade for Luke Kennard, it has to bounce off of Kurt Rambis and then Linda Rambis and then Tim Harris and then this guy and then that guy and it bounces all over the place. And then by the time that a decision is finally ready to be made, it's like, well, the trade deadline passed like 15 minutes ago. So like getting rid of more people like Tim Harris, I think is the thing that Lakers fans will care about more.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is absolutely like the headline takeaway here is that, like, potentially some of these, like, I guess for lack of a better term, this feels mean, but unqualified power leeches are no longer going to like be weighing in on these decisions where it's like Tim Harris should not have a say on basketball matters at all. Like, I'm sorry, the guy who is in charge of the Lakers business should not have any input on that whatsoever in like a highly functional organization. Like, I mean, I understand that like he should be looped in or whatever so that it's like, hey, we're trading X player. Maybe don't do like, we're doing this guy's bobblehead night after the trade deadline. Like try to get that one out of the way up front, like that sort of stuff. Like obviously he should be looped in on. But I think like the idea that he has some level of say has always been insane to me. And it's like you see it in stuff like, you're on Weitzman's book, which like, I don't know if you want to get into stories from that or whatever, or stories that you've heard, but it's like, you can see in that Tim Harris is one of the people that comes off like looking worst, I think, from that book, where it's just like, why is this guy even in the, like, why is this guy getting to talk to LaMarcus Aldridge at all, much less like take up the majority of the meeting? And it's just stuff like that is just like deeply unserious. And that goes back to the mom and pop shop stuff that I just think is going to be gone. And I think this is the first sign of something like that. And so when I say like, I don't see why Lakers fans are going to care that much about this specific thing today or see that many effects from it today, because I don't think you are. He's going to finish out the season clearly. Like Tim Harris is doing his farewell tour with the Lakers. And they're going to,
you think he'll have a better farewell tour than Chris Paul?
They're just going to turn his key card off. Tim, guess what? You're finishing out the season with the Raptors. They really needed to load up on business operations at the deadline. Sent this great washing machine in exchange. So
well, why don't you give like people a taste of the Tim Harris experience, because like the LaMarcus Aldridge tidbit in that book is pretty difficult to not think of immediately when you hear about Tim Harris's input on basketball operations. And it's like, oh man, this guy clearly doesn't get it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's funny going back the LaMarcus Aldridge pitch meetings is like going back to like yours and my like starts covering the team and all of that stuff. Like we were both just getting going. And like this was the kind of nonsense. And like, I think that it's funny because a lot of the time, one of the things that I think is one of the biggest misconceptions about the Lakers is that, like, I remember this was the kind of thing that got laid at Jim Buss and Mitch Kupchak's feet. When they were ousted, it's like, well, they're not going to have stuff like the LaMarcus Aldridge thing happen again. It's like, well, like the people that were responsible for the LaMarcus Aldridge thing are the ones who got rid of them. It's like, I'm not going to say that Jim and Mitch did not have their faults or that they should still be employed or whatever. Like, I think you've seen like what happened, like what has happened since then. Obviously, like it was no longer like it was not their time anymore. And that was the right decision in aggregate. But people would just like anything broadly unprofessional. People were like, well, that's Jim Buss. And it's like Jim Buss, I promise you, like, for whatever mistakes maybe he did or didn't make in the LaMarcus Aldridge pursuit, was not the person who said Tim Harris should like talk to LaMarcus Aldridge about sponsorship and branding opportunities if he should sign with the Lakers, and be described as a meeting that kept going and going and going. In the book, quote, you could see people around the room rolling their eyes, one attendee said. And that's in the free agency pitch meeting. You can see people rolling their eyes. Do you know how bad you have to bomb for people to be that, like, to like start rolling their eyes during like you're trying to present a unified front and convince this guy to sign with your organization? And you're just like, oh my God, again, he's got more points on the Spectrum Sportsnet relationship. Okay.
Did you ever, by the way, like, did you ever watch Entourage?
No.
Okay. Well, in Entourage, which I'm pretty sure people like, I don't need to like explain what Entourage was, but the main character, Vinny, Chase, he like leaves his area. He like tells his agent, I'm leaving unless X, Y, or Z or whatever. And I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna have meetings with all these other agents and agencies, and I want to hear their pitches and I want to hear your pitch and all this stuff. And in all of the pitches, it was like copied and paste. Like all the meetings started with like Apple, McDonald's, Coca-Cola, Vinny Chase, and like he went to all of these meetings and they all started the same way. Nike, Reebok.
Well, the Nike one
Adidas.
misspelled his name. That was weird, but it's fine. Nico's gonna fix that.
Right. But like when I was listening to, or when I was reading the Euron's book of this meeting here, it just reminded me a lot of, because Vinny goes through all of these agencies and all of these meetings are the same, and he shows up for his meeting with his current agent, whose name I'm forgetting it right now, but like he rolls his eyes because his agent, who has known him since he was like first trying to break into Hollywood, produces that same meeting, and he's like, so you're just like everybody else, right? And like with LaMarcus Aldridge and the amount of time spent on the business side of things and not the basketball side of things, LaMarcus eventually gets really sick of like, so like, what are your plans basketball wise? And it just reminded me of like Vinny Chase is like, oh, you're just like everybody else.
LaMarcus Aldridge, in an interview cited in Euron's book, says, quote, "It was a miscalculation of me as a person," which is like, that's the whole thing you're supposed to be calculating in the free agency pitch meeting. Is him as a person. And it's like, wow, like Adam Levine in the not wearing the jersey and like, it's saying social media stats didn't work for him. But like, I mean, it sort of goes with one of the funnier parts in here is that the botch pitch, Ramona Shelburne then reported that the Lakers, who thought the meeting had gone great, were stunned when Aldridge let it leak that he was not impressed.
Well, then it's funny because Aldridge signed with the Spurs, who were like the exact opposite. Like the Spurs probably spent their whole time talking about how, LaMarcus, if you shot more threes, it would really open things up for this and that and this and that. Not like Nike, McDonald's, LaMarcus Aldridge, like it was just, yeah. And the misunderstanding of like how it went is also important to note here.
Yeah. And like that probably says that you were never going to get LaMarcus Aldridge, but not getting LaMarcus Aldridge is not like the bad thing here. Like I think that ended up working out fine for the Lakers. Like that that would have been like a last gasp, but like trying to have like a team that was in the middle of nowhere. Like it's not that big of a deal that they missed out on LaMarcus Aldridge in the end. But like there's stuff. I think one of the things that a lot of people, including myself, are most excited about for like the Walter era is like no longer just relying on like, hey, we're the Lakers and that should be enough. Like you should just want to play for the Lakers. You should just want to work for the Lakers. Like we shouldn't have to pay market rate. We shouldn't have to outbid your previous job. Like we're the Lakers and you should just want to work here. And, like one of the things in this book is just it talks about Harris was also a true believer in Lakers mystique. It was why, under his leadership, the Lakers were one of the last teams to create a department solely devoted to marketing. Quote, "He used to always say that our marketing is that we're the Lakers," said one former Lakers employee, which is like, you're kind of right, but also that you're in charge of marketing. Like that can't be your stance. That can be me and Anthony's stance. That it's like, yeah, this is probably an easy job. It kind of takes care of itself. Your stance can't be like, well, I mean, that'll just take care of itself. Like everybody just likes the Lakers. I don't have to do anything.
Right. It's kind of like in a weird way, it's kind of like their view on centers in that, like, we can get any center. We have Luka, and that center, like it can be Jackson. It can be DeAndre Ayton. It doesn't have to be, we don't have to spend X and Y resources to bring in a good center. We don't have to pay a center $20+ million a year because Luka will turn every center into a $20+ million a year center. And it's like, okay, if that is your stance on it, imagine, and if you're asking Luka to constantly turn Jackson into Nick Claxton, imagine what Luka could turn Nick Claxton into. You know what I mean? And it's like Tim Harris. What? Wilt. Right. But it's like we just saw this at
people
the
are
trade
having
deadline.
Nick Claxton plays with Luka, and people are having Wemby versus Nick Claxton debates.
But like we saw this at the deadline where like there were conversations internally about Jared Allen. And one of the kind of talking points that apparently everybody kind of arrived at anyway was like, we don't have a ton of resources. And as such, we can't expend them to go out and get, and we don't want to pay a Jared Allen $25 million a year when we think that Jackson Hayes can be like a Jared Allen, like a Kirkland brand Jared Allen. And it's like, okay, but you aren't gonna go very far in the postseason if you keep on hoping to get the Kirkland brand center that deals with Nikola Jokic. Eventually, you actually have to employ a center who can compete with Victor Wembanyama and Nikola Jokic. And now it's going to be the front court that Utah has, right? If they keep Walker Kessler and Jaren Jackson Jr., that's a bitch of a front court to try to deal with. And so, like, you know, and I just, the other part of this too is I've worried constantly with Jeannie's stewardship of the organization is like, rather than there being a prioritization of productive conversations that have a back and forth, that differ in opinions, that produces a more thought out resolution, the focus has always been more kumbaya. Let's all get along. Let's all agree on every move that we make. Let's all be in this together. And like that last bullet point, let's all be in this together, being linked to let's all agree on everything. That is
Dissent
to
can't be
me
seen
a
as
fatal
disloyalty.
flaw. Yeah. And so like when I'm looking at, you know, the decisions that aren't or should be or shouldn't be made and stuff like that, to me the process involving a very insulated conversation where it's Jeannie and her friends having that conversation, and anybody who disagrees with that conversation or disagrees with an opinion held within Jeannie and her circle of friends is cast aside and considered a dick for daring to disagree. Tim Harris stepping aside represents at least the beginning of the end of that being kind of the corporate stance within the Lakers. And I think, like, if I were a Laker fan, if I were a casual fan, even, I wouldn't care that Tim Harris represents that. I wouldn't care that Linda Rambis or Kurt Rambis represent that. I just want the end of it. And that's where, like, that's the difference between, like, is this something that Lakers fans really care about right now? Probably not. Vast majority of them will, like, I'm looking at Dan Wojcicki's, because he was the first one to report this. I'm looking at his tweet. It has 211 retweets. It has 679 likes. It's only reached 123,000 or made 123 and a half impression, 123,500 impressions on Twitter.
And a half. half a person saw it.
Yeah. Like it's not some major news to the vast majority of people who follow this team. But I do think it is going to be one of those things that, like, eventually, if and when the Lakers are being run in a way that you and I would want, and most, I think, Lakers fans would want them to run, this is one of those things that I think that we'll be able to look back on as a pretty major domino falling that led to that end game.
And like totally agreed. And I think that that's exactly how we should look at it. Is like this is potentially the first domino of some major organizational overhaul things where it's like, hey, we're going to give this guy the opportunity to just kind of retire. Like we're not going to fire him, but like we really want to okay, if you want to keep Rob, like we really want to beef out the business operations of the Lakers and like really try to make as much money on this thing as we can and not just be like, well, we're the Lakers. People will buy tickets.
I'm just imagining Mark Walters like because that's what they're doing, right? They're talking to all these people, and they're asking them what they do for their job and what value they bring to their job. And Mark Walters sits down in a meeting with Tim Harris. All right, Tim, what's your like overall outlook for what you need to do with your job? And Tim like kicks back, puts his feet on the table, and he says, I don't know how to do dick. We're the Lakers. And like, 15 minutes later, Tim gets an email from Mark Walter and his people. Hey man, I think we're going to go in a different direction.
We really want to give you a farewell tour. We want to make sure that you go out on the right terms.
And look, like I do think it, like in the interest of fairness, Tim did do a lot of good for the Lakers. This TV deal that has become a significant advantage for the Lakers that I think it's gone underutilized because we have seen their cap, like the amount of the cap that they use, or their overall roster cost shrink as everybody else's TV deals has gone away. But the Spectrum TV deal, Tim Harris was very active in that deal. And that was a monster deal for the Lakers that has really bolstered them as an organization. Now, I do kind of wonder as we approach the end of that deal, Tim Harris stepping away might signal that like, he's like, I don't know how this one's going to go, guys.
Next deal's on the next guy.
But yeah, like I do think that like there are positive aspects of Tim, and like he's been there for.
But again, how much credit do you get for that?
Years?
If your stance for getting the TV deal was like, we're the Lakers, people will give us a TV deal.
Yeah, he was right, but like,
yeah, like.
But yeah, like he's been there for 35 years. He's been a part of big, decisions that have been made that have led the Lakers to where they were, at their highest points as well. But I do think this is overwhelmingly a step in the right direction. And like, look, like I remain somewhat skeptical as far as like whether or not Rob actually brings in people who could take credit away from Rob Pelinka. But I do think that this pretty Harris, tell me if you think I'm reading this wrong, but this feels like I don't think Jeannie would tell Tim Harris, hey, you have to step aside.
Yeah, I mean, I do wonder. I actually don't know how old he is offhand. I do wonder if he was just sort of getting close to retirement.
They dated, right? So
yeah, well, probably. Yeah, I don't know. I just think that this, this might signal. He's how old?
Yeah, I think 64.
Okay, well, I mean, that's right around retirement age. Good for him. It's like, I think we all hope to hang it up by 65, like if you can. So, this is a sensible, like probably time for him. And, hey, like the Lakers get to get someone new in there and like it gets to start these changes in the organization in maybe like a place that, again, I'm not saying that this happened because I don't know that this happened, but like if Jeannie was given a choice between it's like, hey, you can keep Tim or Rob, like she's probably picking Rob. And, Mark Walter is going to get to make his impact on business first, which is like probably not what fans would want, but it is like, it is a sign that I think that there are going to be bigger, more like trend-setting type of changes and more like people trying to figure out like, okay, how much can we juice this thing? How much can we put this into overdrive? And how much can we stop relying on just like everybody likes the Lakers? Like, no, people aren't going to be Clippers fans.
Yeah. Put differently, a lot of the changes that we all want from the Lakers cannot take place with the Tim Harrises of the world still there.
Yeah.
And Tim Harris being told, or I don't think this is a decision he makes of his own volition. I think typically you stay with the Lakers.
This does feel very, very like you can retire or we can fire you.
Yeah, like yeah. The fact that we haven't gotten any clarity on it one way or the other kind of indicates to me that like it is kind of a mutual and maybe not so mutual. Like, hey, we're going in this direction.
We're letting you make it say it's mutual.
Yeah. And now look, and that might be in no small part because of the ill will that like Janie felt to the Lakers by them just firing her,
Yeah.
And that like to the people that Jeannie actually cares about, they do get this opportunity to resign,
Yeah, the inner circle is going to get to save face. Like the other people got red weddinged.
Yeah. All right, segueing awkwardly. I don't know any other way to do this, but the other part of this that I find myself whenever I start to see some of this kind of solidifying or clarifying, it makes me like it's almost bittersweet because I wish we would have gotten this earlier in LeBron's Lakers tenure, because I just think like if the Lakers, especially if like Adam Silver doesn't come down hard on the Clippers for their cap circumvention, like the Lakers are about to enter.
By the way, such a bummer Kawhi did not win All-Star MVP and have to get it presented to him by Adam Silver.
and Steve Ballmer.
I was rooting so hard for like that, like how awkward that exchange would have been.
I was like, if he would have won that All-Star MVP, would Steve Ballmer have taped another aspiration deal to the bottom of the trophy?
What if he just took it away from him on stage? He's like, this is being rescinded. It's like when they take away your Heisman for impermissible benefits. They're like, we're wiping this All-Star MVP from the record. You cheater.
Or like Kawhi won All-Star MVP, but he was playing for like unidentified NBA team. Kind of like what they do with like Russia, right? In the Olympics, where it's like
unincorporated basketball team. Just says Kawhi Leonard, NBA participant.
He's just there. I don't know how he got there. But yeah, so the LeBron aspect of all of this is something that like I find myself kind of like wishy-washy over, because like I do think that LeBron is owed a lot more gratitude than it appears he has been getting, especially like whether it's from Lakers fans, whether it's from the actual Lakers, like, and I think he has felt that, and I think that's why his future with the
I'd argue
team
it matters
is so
more from the actual Lakers. Like you think they would know a little better, even if there was like fandom is not meant to be rational and assign credit to who it's actually like divide up the causal pie and be like this is the fairest way to do that. But like you'd think the Lakers would be a little more professional than that.
Yeah, and so like the way that I kind of wanted to talk about this with you, Harrison, is the Lakers are entering this upcoming season, as anybody who has ever spoken to Rob Pelinka will tell you, with $50-ish million in cap space. You don't arrive there without multiple years of planning and staying disciplined to that plan and not wavering off course by any singular stretch. So like we just saw this with the Clippers, where like they are very, laser focused on 2027 cap space. So they told James Harden, you're not going to get your extension. Where do you want to go? And this upcoming summer, they're going to say to Kawhi Leonard, you're not going to get an extension. Do you want to write out your contract here, or where do you want to go that would give you a better chance of getting a contract? And They traded Ivica Zubac, and they're going down into where they're entering this tear down rebuild with 2027 in mind. And so like the Lakers are nearing, like they are basically at the finish line of this plan of opening up their books for this summer. And that would then inherently mean that for multiple seasons of LeBron's prime, his extended prime, a prime that he has worked his ass off to extend, the Lakers have been hyper focused on the summer after he takes off. And that's kind of what you just said. And what I mean by like LeBron deserved better from them on this. And I think that's part of why nobody really knows what LeBron is going to do after this season. And I think if the Lakers, rather than drafting, not even saying that like, oh man, you drafted Jalen Hood-Schifino and that was a bust, but rather than drafting anybody in that spot and attaching that draft pick to the expiring money that they had going into that draft, you would have more to show for the LeBron 80 era. And you
literally,
would have more
you could
to
have
work
done
with.
almost anything with the Jalen Hood-Schifino pick, and it would have been better than what they actually did.
Yes. Yeah. And like I remember they were linked to Kyle Kuzma for a couple of those off seasons. He would have helped. I know he's pretty bad now, but like he has been fine and fairly productive the last couple of years. He would have helped a lot more than Jalen did.
And I also think Kuz is pretty good at sniffing out a hopeless situation and being like, you know, like versus like one where it's like, okay, it's time to play serious basketball versus like, okay, this is a carnival. As we saw in Washington.
And now with the Giannis-less Bucks, right? Like,
yeah,
that's a joke of an NBA team. And so like, but you know, if it like you could, Miles Turner is somebody that they were linked to with expiring money. Buddy Hield was somebody that they were linked to with like any number of these other options that they could have had. The Lakers basically chose Dorsey because it made them cheaper and because it kept intact this summer's cap space. And I think not only would you have more to show for the end of the LeBron and AD era, but you also would have been better set up, I think, for the beginning of the Luka era. And I think like
role players who help LeBron would be able to help Luka, you know, provided they were still upright and playing.
They have a lot in common. Yeah. And but like even more specifically as it pertains to like all of this kind of rampant speculation about LeBron's future, we wouldn't see that speculate. I think LeBron would probably be a lot more open to taking less to play here next year if you hadn't dicked him around for 2 straight years while you were focused on the summer after he was getting ready to take off. And I think a lot of this stuff is connected.
And I think that the Lakers do deserve some level of credit for that planning, like you're saying, like that is a multi-year effort. But I also think that some of it, like I don't want to misassign as like a grand plan what was more of just like, hey, the Rob Pelinka strategy of we're going to kick the can down the road. You can't judge this team yet, where it's like, you know, well, you know, we don't want to give up our young developing cost-controlled players for like a rental, like Kyle Kuzma or something like that. And then it's like you draft Jalen Hood-Schifino and like cut him basically after like a year and a half. Right. I know they salary dumped him, but essentially just like got rid of him for nothing. And, you know, it just and the Dalton Connect thing, same thing. It was like, hey, you know, like, oh, we got to wait till the draft. The Lakers will have this many picks they can trade on draft night. And then it's like, well, they couldn't pass on Dalton Connect falling all the way to them. And then that pick works out like horribly. And so some of this has been like mismanagement that sort of like, and then pivoting to like a better plan of like, okay, we just happen to have all of this cap space coming off the books at this point. And so let's like really lean into that. And like, let's not double down on a bad hand and like give LeBron, you know, like the $70 million extension that he wants, just because that's what we've done in the past. But it is like, you know, I do think, as I've been saying, I feel like we've had a version of this conversation fairly frequently this year. Your plan cannot just be, once we stop paying LeBron, we're just going to be better off because we're going to have all that cap space. Like you have to actually use that cap space well. If that cap space is used to sign Tobias Harris, then I'm sorry, that wasn't a good plan. And you wasted like
Yeah.
a year of like LeBron's, not prime, but extended sort of downslope where he's like still very close to the peak of his powers when it really matters. And, you wasted that so that you could have the space to sign like Tobias Harris.
Yeah. Well, I'm pulling this up now. Because I've just been laughing at this basically since it was brought to my attention. But like you had this tweet from Chris Haynes from February of 24,
Yeah,
right? That like here's the tweet. The probable path for the Los Angeles Lakers is standing pat at trade deadline with potential to acquire another star player in the offseason when armed with 3 first-round picks, league sources tell NBA on TNT. Harrison, that was like 2 employers ago for Chris Haynes. And you can and when it was first like presented to me, it was like, oh, like I legit thought that I had missed a Haynes tweet, about this current deadline because there's the 3 picks to point to, there's cap flexibility, all that stuff.
This is Rob's MO is always like, he gets the word out afterward. Like these are when the Rob leaks are always the like, well, we're going to have this many picks in the summer. And, the hope springs eternal. And then, once we get to the summer, it's like, well, we want at least half a season before we can really judge this team at the trade deadline. We want to judge their strengths and weaknesses against NBA teams and then decide if they're worth investing, these future picks in.
Well, and like, yeah, like, we got, I don't know if you saw it, but Dave McMenamin wrote about this for ESPN today, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing.
That's where
and
the
it's
Tobias
like,
Harris name came from.
Yeah. And well, it's just like, I keep on seeing these things and, yes, there is value in telling your audience what the plan is for this upcoming summer. But I wish in any of these pieces or any of those tweets that we've seen over the years that present the plan here moving forward, I wish at any point there was a but, right? Because I think there's a very important but in all of these statements where it's like, yeah, that's Rob's plan for this summer. But I feel like we should all be able to point out, but he has had this exact plan before. And if we've seen him willing to work towards cap space 2 years down the line during LeBron's prime, what's to stop him from working towards cap space in 2029 in the middle of Luka's prime? Like, what's to stop him from doing it? Now, what's to actually stop him is Mark Walter stepping in and being like, okay, no, get the fuck out of here. That's what would actually stop him from doing that. And I think that is an aspect of this that is worthy of being pointed out. But I still say that like that but is something that should be like more attention should be spent to, because think about what arriving at cap space this year has cost. The opportunity cost has been. It means that you didn't maximize the end of AD and LeBron, when all it took for AD and LeBron to make the Western Conference Finals was swapping out Russell Westbrook for like mid-tier role players. Had you done that earlier, you would have had another run to the Western Conference Finals with LeBron and AD probably at the very least. And if you would have leveraged those better role players into and used their expiring contracts with draft picks, that would have given LeBron and AD an even better chance at postseason success. So your opportunity cost is, waiting out the LeBron and AD era. And they got lucky that Luka Doncic fell in their laps, because now the opportunity cost is last year's postseason where they didn't have a viable chance. You had Jackson Hayes as starting center. So you basically sat out that postseason.
Which to
LeBron
get Luka, I think is a reasonable sacrifice to make.
What's that?
To get Luka is a reasonable sacrifice to make, I think.
What?
Just be like, this roster doesn't make any sense going into the postseason. Like that's one where I'm like, okay, I understand. Like you make this move and you'll figure that out later. Like that's something that you can't pass up.
Somewhat, yeah. I mean, like it just depends on the extent to which you believe whether or not they were trading for Mark Williams in good faith. But yeah, I think we can digress. But then this year you have Luka for a whole season, you have LeBron for a whole season, and you have Austin at the contract that you had him. And once again, you punted. So basically the Lakers it's like the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl when they had like 8 straight punts, you know? And fortunately, because of the CBA, the Pats, like at the end of that year, had a chance at that game, right? It just so happened that Drake May threw that interception and the game was over after that. But because of the CBA and because of the mediocrity that the CBA forces on everybody, the league has actually remained in a spot where the Lakers, I think, have a viable chance at competing while they have Luka and Austin next year. But I hope that Lakers fans and everybody listening to this and everybody paying attention to what the way that the Lakers have moved the last couple of years, I hope that they're all like paying close enough attention at the opportunity cost of this cap space here and what should actually be on the line if this cap space plan isn't executed to its fullest fruition. Because if it isn't, then you punted all of those transaction windows to get here. And if you still don't have a hyper competitive roster on the other side of it, then what was all of that for?
Yeah.
You know? And I think what Tim Harris's departure at the end of the season hopefully signals is that contentment to just punt for the sake of unanimity within the front office and those kumbaya sentiments where like I would hope that somebody along the way was like, hey, why are we punting with LeBron and AD? And rather than looking at that person being like, stop being a dickhead, Jesse, rather than looking at that person and being like, why are you ruffling feathers? They would actually more take that into account as like, actually, no, this is a legitimate opportunity cost that we should be taking into greater. And like one of the things that like is out there is that like there is internally a comparison drawn between LeBron and Kobe. And I think more specifically the ghost of Kobe. And I think those differences between LeBron's relationship with the Lakers and how people feel about Kobe post passing, like that has given themselves the leeway internally to just be like, well, he's not Kobe. So like we don't, but just think about like what the Lakers did at the end of Kobe's prime to try to give him one more chance at a championship, right? They traded for Dwight. They brought in Steve Nash. They had that roster that like, yeah, led to a horrendous season and like one of the more frustrating years
The
of our
plan did not work.
Yeah. But it's like I respect a hell of a lot more.
Yeah.
An error of commission rather than an error of omission. And that's what we've seen for the last like 4 or 5 years here, where it's just like, yeah, it's championship or bust. And since we don't see a direct path to a championship, we're just going to continue to bust. And I just don't respect that approach to team building.
Yeah. I also think that, you know, going back to the Dwightmare year, like you're never going to see Rob Pelinka almost fighting with his starting center as they're being like ejected from a game. Like you were like, say what you will about Mitch, like he cared, you know, he was competitive. He was not afraid to tell players like it is where like, I don't know that Rob does that. You know, certainly not with guys who like he thinks matters. He's just going to tell them like, hey, you're great. I love you, Luka. You know, and all of that kind of stuff. I also
and then work behind the
just wanna
scenes
say,
to trade
like,
them.
you made some good points during that soliloquy. I have not been able to focus.
That was a long soliloquy.
Since,
my bad.
well, no, I just was going to say I have not been able to focus since you said that a plan that was partially formulated by Kurt Rambis did not have enough butts in it.
Harrison, that's good efficiency. I ranted and rambled for fucking 25 minutes there, and you jump in with a 30-second Kurt Rambis butt joke.
That's what I'm here for, you know? The only reason I still do this pod is to do Kurt Rambis butt jokes. Once he announces his retirement, mutual parting of ways, I don't know that I'm still going to be here. You're going to have some cap space to use.
Do you think if Kurt
and it's
Rambis
like, you know,
was
can you replace your balding, aging superstar with someone that's better? Or like, is it going to be like, are you going to whiff? Are you going to sign the Tobias Harris of Lakers Twitter? I don't know.
I'm going to have so much cap space and 3 first-round picks to maybe work with. only specifically on draft day, but still. Let's talk about the All-Star weekend. And I thought it was pretty fun. I thought I had a good time with most of it. The dunk contest was once again really, really bad. And like
I will say, to defend the dunk contest, which I don't really want to do, but I will just say gave us maybe, I'm glad that Jace Richardson is okay. And because he is okay, I can say that is like the funniest dunk contest blooper of all time. Like, I'm glad he's okay. Like, I would not be, as a head injury survivor, I would not be making these jokes. Like, if it seemed like he had his bell rung or whatever, he was making jokes about it on Twitter. That is an all-time clip of him wiping out on that dunk. And I honestly respect him more for putting himself out there that much, that he was like at risk of basically dying for a dunk contest that was like maybe the worst in NBA history. Like, I'm a Jace Richardson fan now because of that. But other than that, yeah, the dunk contest wasn't like it's so transparent now. Like, the whole Saturday night thing is just like a marketing exercise where it's like you have Giannis like trying to get in front of as many cameras as he can with his camera phone, just being like, look, make me the new KG meme. Look at me. I'm recording things on my phone. Like, please meme me. And then you have like Jackson Hayes forgetting where the free throw line is and just like doing like maybe the lamest dunk contest dunk ever. Surpassing Shannon Brown.
That was the worst slam dunk contest dunk. And not even just NBA, but like you could bring college into this. You could bring high school even into this.
I am confident, with all due respect to Cal State Fullerton basketball, who I love, that you could go to Cal State Fullerton basketball and the players on that roster would put on a better dunk contest than Jackson Hayes just gave us.
No, I specifically remember the guy from Cal State Fullerton while I was at Fullerton. He used to walk around bouncing tennis balls, and it was for hand-eye coordination, because if he ever developed any hand-eye coordination, he had NBA level athleticism, and he would just like the way that he used to play in our pickup runs from time to time. And if he like got a step on somebody, entire gymnasiums would make business decisions because this guy was just like that high above the rim. And yeah, the stuff that he was doing, that he would do like in the rec center while he was preparing to participate in ESPN's college slam dunk contest, like that was significantly better than Jackson's.
I am convinced. Like, did Jackson?
I think LeBron had a better dunk than Jackson Hayes this year.
Did Jackson not practice is my question. Like, did he have a plan going into the event? That's what I want to know about that. And then also there was Kashad Johnson, who, like, you know, he won it. He had some good dunks, but like it was again like so clearly that he wanted to brand himself
much better
the
dancer than dunker.
Like, I want the dancing sponsorships. Like, I want to be in a commercial as the dancing dunking guy. And it's just like it just feels soulless. Like the whole thing, and I wouldn't be surprised if that was the last dunk contest for a while. But on the positive side, I think they may have fixed the All-Star game. They just needed some old-fashioned xenophobia.
I've been saying it for years.
Yeah,
like it was one of those moments where like I actually think it started in the Rising Stars game. Like that was super competitive too.
I will be honest, I did not watch the Rising Stars game.
It was really fun. It was actually really fun. It was on like whatever. Jen and I went out. We took the kids to a restaurant out here, and it was on one of like the 33 TVs that the restaurant had in a little, it's like indoor outdoor bar area, and the kids were running around out there, and Jen and I were having a glass of wine and some appetizers, and it was on over there, and I kept on looking up at the score. And it never like ballooned in ways than like that like All-Star or Rising Stars games do, where like all of a sudden it's like a 50-point deficit and everybody is just taking their turns, either shooting threes or doing their own slam dunk contest. But this one stayed competitive throughout. And I do think that like this tighter windows thing, you know, like keeping the games shorter so that they stay attached, the teams stay attached for longer, and gives you the opportunities at some of these, you know, game winners or quarter winners at the, you know, at the end of all of these 10-minute quarters or whatever. I think that is something to continue to build with. But I did walk away from this because the game the first game between the OGs and the scrubs, I thought was pretty competitive. But then when they were asked to like run it back for the sake of the overall championship thing, and the young guys were just like, they still had gas in the tank, and the old guys were like, well,
Well,
we're no
it was a
longer.
little anticlimactic. They had already defeated the world and proven U.S. superiority. It's like they
Yeah,
won their championship. The
right,
U.S.
because
won
both
already.
teams, yeah,
Yeah,
like both teams beat Team World, right?
yeah.
And like that was clearly all that mattered to the guys who were there. So just
Yeah.
like use that. We
Well,
know that
also,
that's what
I
they
I
care about.
love that. I love again, like I think Wemby has done some corny things. The ethical basketball stuff, when like you're falling all over the place, is like kind of
Yeah.
lame to me, and it's like very Twitter brained. But like, how much he has embraced, like, I'm just going to be the heel, and like I'm going to piss these guys off into trying, and like I'm just going to talk shit, and I'm going to say like, okay, like if you want to throw up little floaters, like I'm going to swat them out of bounds, and you're going to look stupid. And I think that it really did bring everyone else's effort up a level, and I love it. So, like, if that's the
Did
guy
you
that is
see
going to be
did
leading,
you see the clip of LeBron on the sideline saying fuck Wemby?
no, I didn't see that. Was he like
He was
breathing
like
heavily?
cheesing and stuff like that, and then at the end of it, he's like, fuck Wemby. And I was like,
Yeah,
I wondered if that was in reference to Wemby actually trying and then therefore making LeBron try,
yeah. LeBron's
or
like,
if
I'm
it was
so
in
tired, man. Like, this was supposed to be my weekend off.
yeah. So, but no, I wouldn't you agree though? Like, just make the whole thing Team World versus Team USA. You know?
I think that the round robin thing is overly complicated. And that probably is like maybe a little bit of a turnoff to your casual fans. But I will say that, to your point about the shorter quarters, I heard Zach Lowe mention that one of the things that the league was citing in its reason to try this format, despite the criticism of it, was that a lot of the players had said that like the pickup like game length would sort of lead to greater bursts of effort. You don't feel like
Yeah.
it's like, oh, I got a whole 48-minute game. It's like, no, I'm just playing pickup, and it's first to, like it's first to 11, 20, 30, whatever. Like, but it's going to be a short burst of a game, and I can sort of go all out for 2 minutes, and that's not a big deal. And like I to your point, like it kept things closer, it kept everybody within reach except for the last game, and you just had like better effort from guys, I think. And I think again, like just Wemby, the act of Wemby trying, I think just got everyone else. They're like, okay, we are going to look dumb. And, what have we found out about NBA players over like the last several years? And it's been part of the downfall of All-Star Weekend is just like everybody's too afraid to be embarrassed. Nobody wants to do the
Yeah.
dunk contest because, people on the internet are going to be mean to me if I don't win or if I don't have the best dunks. And I just need people to tell me that I would win if I participated. And then I'm just not going to participate. But, Wemby actually going out there and being like, no, I'm going to embarrass you if you don't try, I think really brought everyone up a level.
I agree 100%, and like it made me more of a Wemby fan. And then on top of it, like it also shined a light on some of my least favorite people on Twitter. Like anybody who was in my mentions or anybody who I saw like saying, "Oh, this is lame. Why is Wemby trying so hard?" Auto block. I was just like, I'm done. You're not even
Why are
worth
you
talking
watching
basketball with.
if you don't want them to try? What are you
Yeah, like
watching
what are
for?
you looking for? Like what are you here for?
It's like I
So
heard Pete make the point last week when he was talking about the All-Star game that like it's like Kobe used to describe it as like fans just want the best pickup game in the world, or like a good
yeah,
pickup game, a competitive pickup game between the best players in the world. And really that's what we got. And that was perfect. That's all I need. I don't need them having, being like, "Oh man, did they try out zone principles today or are they going to, are they
yeah.
going to rotate as hard as they do in a regular season game?" No, but like I just want to see guys try. And I think that they did try. And, I think that maybe we do have to hand it to Adam Silver on this one thing.
Well, how confident are you that they aren't going to screw this up? That like the
Well, not at
NBPA
all.
isn't yeah. That like the NBPA isn't going to like ask Rob like, hey Rob, the guys weren't thrilled about how hard they had to play in that thing, and they don't love the idea of like having to compete against Team World
Adam, can we
every
do
year.
US versus US? Like, can you just ban Wemby from the game?
I hope that this is how he approaches them all from here on out. And like
Yeah.
this is the thing that like because I remember early in Kobe's career, there were some of those whispers, like you could pick it up on the telecast that like the former players who would be calling an All-Star game that Kobe was playing in, and if he was playing super hard, they would kind of like the guys that were just recently All-Stars and had just retired and would be on the broadcast would be like, "Oh, there goes Kobe again. He's just all right. This is the finals, I guess, for him, you know." And
Yeah.
it's like, if you don't understand, like you're either wired to compete or you're not.
Yeah.
And like this is my problem with like how NBA players talk about the dunk contest, where it's like the best players, or at the very least, I think some of the most popular players in NBA history looked for opportunities to compete against each other.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that like ended. And I know that like people don't like it when I make this point, but it ended when LeBron got there and just basically decided, nope, not doing it. And I'm not blaming him specifically. I'm just saying he and all the other players since then have just basically said, like, nope, that is beneath us. We do not want to compete in that thing.
Yeah, and like,
And
look, can I just say that, like, if we're handing out demerits on the All-Star game, like, I think Jokic and Luka are guilty of this, 100%.
absolutely. Yeah.
Like
Well,
Luka, I understand. Like Luka should not have been going all out this specific weekend when he was injured
yeah.
and whatever. Like, I'm not criticizing him for that. I do kind of think that it was stupid that he played in the game. Like, I like if you're gonna miss 4 of your team's own games that matter in the standings, like going into the weekend, I just don't like that you're playing in this meaningless thing. But like
Yeah.
again, he should not have been going all out and trying. Like, I know Jokic is still like coming back from injury or whatever, but how many other guys would we give the like he's still coming back from injury? He's been playing for 2 weeks, but he's still coming back from injury, and so
That's
like
true.
it's fine that
Yeah.
he just like completely half-assed it in the All-Star game, and we're not going to lump him in with the other guys that aren't trying.
Yeah. Well, and like, what is either of those guys done to earn the benefit of the doubt that like if
It's
they
just
were
lame.
healthy, would
It's
they be
just
trying
lame.
more?
Like if you're gonna go out there, then you should play hard. And if you're
Yeah.
not, if you don't want to play hard and you just want the ceremonial all-star spot, then bow out of the game.
Yeah. Or at the very least be like, hey, I can't, like, just like rather than the ambiguity
Fake an
that was
injury.
going into it.
You know,
Yeah,
like
like,
I
well,
don't.
not even like fake, just be like, hey, like like you said, like bow out, you know.
I
If
want
you
to. I
still
want to
want
focus
the
on my team season and staying as healthy as possible for that. And I'm sorry to the fans that I let down. You know.
Yeah. Because like, yeah, because they did stick out like a sore thumb. Everybody else was trying really hard. And even like Wemby at times was looking at Jokic kind of sideways, like, dude, what are you doing? You know?
Can I also say that how much he lost it at Cat over giving up the game winner is one of the most endearing superstar things I've ever seen. Like he had a psychotic amount of rage for losing that All-Star game, like at Cat,
Yeah.
and it was that was very funny.
I loved it because it's so clear. Like it brought me back to playing pickup.
Yeah.
Where like you would I just remember always like it would like there would always be, you know, that one brain fart. And it's always like, who cares if he scores the 1? We can't give up a 2. And in that case, it was like, who cares if Cat scores a 2-point? That doesn't hurt us. We can come down and hit a 3 and we win. You know, it was just it was so great. It was awesome. We got right at the finish line, we got a super chat, so we'll answer that and get up out of here.
If you can't tell, I'm getting my Wemby Lakers jersey swaps ready. You know, like I'm ready for this. Like if he stays healthy, get ready. I'm gonna get my best jersey swappers on it. Like Lakers, we're gonna make this happen.
Yeah. All right. So we got a super comment, which means we get to play the most important sound on the show. Machu asks, it's been plainly obvious LeBron would finish his career in Cleveland since he didn't get his extension. The writing is on the wall. Zero chance he doesn't want a full, well-deserved retirement tour. Well, I don't think I think the Lakers would be, well, I'll keep that up there, but I think the Lakers would still give him his retirement tour. I don't see what the Lakers what would stop them from doing that.
It's funny that he's having to choose between, do I want to make Dan Gilbert money or do I want to make the Lakers money? And I'm like sort of mad at both of them, but like I have to decide who it's going to piss me off less to do the retirement tour with.
At some point, maybe we'll have maybe I could do like a whole, like a shorter video, basically breaking down LeBron's options here, because there is no option that checks all the boxes.
I think he is going to go back to Cleveland, but that's just like my gut reading the tea leaves.
But even if he does go back to Cleveland, it involves taking a pay cut unless the Lakers like sign and trade him over there, in which case he's going to a team with diminished assets and diminished from a roster standpoint. Also from the Lakers standpoint, like, do you even want like the spare parts from Cleveland to send to send LeBron
Depends
over
what the
there?
spare parts are.
Yeah, if it's Jared Allen, I'm down.
If the spare part is Jared Allen, I'll take that,
Yeah. But like, so let's just like the path of least resistance to get him there involves probably taking a pay cut, which he doesn't want to do. So he's already making the one sacrifice. It involves moving his family. Maybe he moves his family. Maybe Savannah stays in and the kids stay in LA and only he goes to Cleveland. But I don't think he would necessarily love that. Is Cleveland that much better?
Money.
He would have to. I don't want to watch Bronny on the Lakers next year without LeBron there. Like,
I think that's one of those things where, again, like the Lakers would be like, hey, like, let's just swap 2 minimum guys, like, and just do right by it.
And then, but yeah, like, is Cleveland next year a significantly better basketball situation than the Lakers could be next year? I don't know that I would say so.
It really does depend a lot on what both teams do moving forward. I think it depends. Like if the Cavs, are able to make some room and LeBron's still competing in like a fairly weak East, like the Celtics will be back, but we don't know what they're going to look like moving forward. Like if the Tatum Brown thing is finally going to break up now that Brown has had his turn at the wheel for a whole season. Like the Knicks don't seem like they're necessarily gearing up to win anything serious. And so like, is that a better chance just by virtue of like being in the weaker conference? And again, like we don't know what the Lakers are going to do with all this cap space. Like if they're asking LeBron to take a pay cut for Giannis, then yeah, you could argue the Lakers are the better winning opportunity and he just stays here. But if they're asking him to take like a pay cut so that they can sign like Peyton Watson and like maybe get like a deal on Tobias Harris, then like, yeah, I mean like that's pretty good, but is that significantly better than Cleveland? And like would he rather do like the nostalgia, sell all the LeBron 23 jerseys on coming home thing?
What I will say, and yes, LeBron does have a house there, that is fair to point out, but Savannah likes it living in LA a lot more than
he. Like also he's a billionaire, like he could just buy a house. Like I don't think that's that big of a deal. Like
right, yeah, there's also that. I mean, it just depends on what you think of Cleveland's real estate market and its, proficiency compared to LA's, Is
LeBron saving up cap space to expand his mansion?
Yeah. I mean, he literally built a compound in LA, like with multiple giant ass houses on
Cleveland.
It. Like, huh?
Cleveland.
No, I think he did that in LA.
Oh, okay. I'm less familiar with that. I know in Cleveland, like he has like a custom from the ground up built, like he's got the Avengers compound there, like
no, but I'm saying he bought a shit ton of land in Southern California and has multiple mansions on it but anyway, I think a more interesting way to have this conversation without being here for 20 minutes and comparing the two situations is I think it benefits the Lakers fan base that LeBron might need to compare Cleveland as a basketball situation and the Lakers as a basketball situation, because that gives you even more incentive to pull off the nth degree offseason that you possibly can.
Yeah.
If it means that you don't also have to replace LeBron as a starter,
Yeah. And can you like
complicated.
LeBron at a massive discount, like if he is going, I mean, I don't know how massive of a discount he is, but LeBron, even at somewhat of a discount, is going to like way outperform that contract. And that is a player that you want around for sure.
Yeah. Brandon Omang, really quickly, what's the 10-man rotation with everybody healthy? Your starters are Luka, Austin, Smart, LeBron, Allen. Coming off of the bench, you have Rui, Kennard, Jake.
Wait, Allen? Do you mean Ayton?
Ayton, sorry, Ayton. I'm already planning ahead to Allen next year. But no, so coming off the bench, you have Rui, Jake, Kennard, Jackson. So there's your 9-man rotation, I think is like your best 9. And then Vando for like defensive matchups. I don't think there's anybody that I missed there,
Dalton's
right?
getting in there?
Somehow no.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Somehow no. Machu, one more time. Can you imagine a Cleveland versus Lakers championship next season? No, I think what's even more fun is to imagine, like, have the Lakers and Cavs played each other twice this year? It's like if they play each other one more time this year, it could be just for LeBron.
The LeBron Bowl? The Le Bowl?
Yeah. Yeah, like he basically announces going into that game, all right, guys, whoever wins this game,
Wait, but
I
then
will
does
sign.
Does he then play in that game? Like, or
No,
it's like
no,
a
he
battle?
sits it out. He just sits it out. He sits. He does.
So
No,
the
even
Lakers
better. He
lose
does
70 million in payroll, and they have to go up against like the Cavs. The Cavs like full roster.
Oh, maybe no, he wouldn't play. I think he wouldn't play. And if the Lakers somehow, then he has to like begrudgingly go to Rob and be like, all right, here's my name at the bottom of a veteran minimum contract next year. I'm telling you right now, we would all watch.
Imagine? Yeah, record ratings. Could you imagine though, like a Cleveland versus Lakers championship, really in either direction? Like if LeBron goes back to Cleveland and like it's against the Luka Giannis Lakers or whatever, in that like the narrative bowl we would be having in the finals, like LeBron left and so he made the finals, so he's vindicated, but also the Lakers are vindicated and letting him go because they got here and whatever. Or the opposite scenario where it's like LeBron and the Lakers versus like the reloaded Cavs team in the finals, and like how kind of crazy that would be.
Well, I just think I think no matter what, his like standing with Cavs fans is solidified, right? Like that is done. He is forever. That's it, right?
Yeah. It's not like the Harden thing where it's like he's sort of a man without a country. Like, it's like LeBron will always have Cavs fans.
Right. But if LeBron, like if the Lakers trade for Giannis and LeBron takes less to help the Lakers build a team with Austin, Giannis, LeBron, and then so forth from there, and the Lakers win a championship there, and that's how LeBron ends his career, Lakers fans couldn't say a damn thing. They shouldn't be able to still say a damn thing. And that's part of the frustration that I have with the way that the rosters have been managed for these last few years with LeBron. But there wouldn't be a damn thing for even the most ardent Kobe stan to say about LeBron. That'd be it. It'd be over.
Do you think that the LeBron statue in that case, like Genie sneaks it in as like it's like LeBron and Rob signing the contract? That photo that like the Lakers posted after he can't, like Rob flew out to LeBron's private boat or whatever and got the contract signed. Like, is that the statue? It's just the two of them just like looking at the camera, signing the piece of paper.
What would be the funniest LeBron statue? Would it be him
dunking
our ball? On Dan Gilbert?
That's our ball, ain't it?
That's like, our ball. That's a fun conversation. That's a good offseason conversation.
Yeah, that's a good offseason. What would we personally want the LeBron statue to be? Like, not necessarily what will it be, but what would bring us the most joy? And I think for me, like, strong contender is LeBron screaming at the refs that that's our ball.
With like a planted tree right next to it, right? Because that was my favorite thing. Was like my favorite like tweet about it was like when you first learned to speak. Say tree in Spanish. He's like, that's our ball. I
was like, where's he going with this? I was like, is this a Kawhi aspiration joke? Like, where is
you never saw that tweet? It was
no, I don't remember that one. I do remember someone being like when you're not sure like which ball brother is on your team.
And Lonzo walks in.
Yeah.
You're like, wait,
you're playing shirts versus skins, and it's like, wait, did we have LaMelo or Lonzo? That's our ball, ain't it?
Yeah.
Shit, we had Jello. Damn it.
All right, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. A reminder, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and yeah, this is the end of the Twitter specific broadcasts. They are just going to be here now. I'm obviously going to tweet out the link, and I'm going to do all of that so that you can still access the show from Twitter, but they will not be broadcast directly to Twitter anymore. So that's the plan here. So make sure you guys are subscribed, turn on those notifications, and until the next time you guys hear from us, I'm Anthony Irwin. That was Harrison Fagan. This has been the Lakers Lounge. Have a great rest of your day. Make somebody else's, and I'll talk to you guys probably tomorrow. Hopefully, we'll see.